Morning, Coach. You got me?
Yeah, so I'm on a press conference right now. Oh, sorry. All right.
Sorry for the important stuff. All right, guys, we should be good. If you guys will, like normal, raise your hand and we'll get started for our first spring availability of the spring. Looks like Mark Berman from Fox 26 has got the first question for Coach, and then we'll swing it over to James from Mueller from the Cougar. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, Dana, how are you?
Good. Can y'all see me?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Hang on. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. You're good.
Okay.
Dana, I got a couple questions. Number one, what are a couple of your priorities heading into spring ball?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where to start. There's a ton of them. Just anxious to get started. We went a lot later this year. Last year we went early, got canceled, didn't have an off season. Summer was hit and miss with small groups. So just really didn't have a chance to really focus on, really getting into the off season aspect of it. So wanted to go later this year because we needed an off season. So we've had 8 good weeks. I guess the 1 week was off because of the freeze. Everybody stayed home and, pipes were bursting. We had to relocate. I'm in a different office. Everybody's in a different office, and that's been kind of a hassle, but we're making do. But had a good off season, so just strength and conditioning was kind of our main concern. So, really focused on that. Did a little bit of football for a couple of weeks prior to spring break, which was good to start doing football. So it's time to focus on football. And so it's all about offense, defense, special teams, blocking, tackling, just the basic stuff, so we'll take it slow this week and then we'll put pads on Sunday and start doing real football stuff. So just the main focus is football. I don't know. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that we could talk about when it comes to that, but we really haven't focused on football until right now. And now it's time to focus on football.
I want to ask you one non-football question. What do you think about what your men's basketball team did and what they're doing?
So much fun to watch. So much fun to watch. I usually go to a bunch of the games. This year has been a little different, obviously, for everybody, but did end up going to the last 2 home games. The Mark kid, I think, is incredibly athletic and talented. I mean, I don't really want to sit here and talk about each one of the other players. I could, because they're fun to watch. They play so daggum hard, and they're fun to watch. But that was a pretty exciting finish again yesterday. I was at my good friend Yanni and Frankie Damaris barbecue, and we were out back, and there was about 15, 20 of us that ended up like high-fiving like crazy at the end of the game. It was a lot of fun to watch. They play hard. I got so much respect for Kelvin and what he's done over his career and the continuity that he's brought to the University of Houston from a basketball perspective is what we're trying to do in football. Just have a whole bunch of continuity, and over the course of time, just get it to where we can be as competitive and win as many games as they are right now.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go over to James from the Daily Cougar, and then over to Joseph. Go ahead, James.
Yeah. Hey, Dana. So your staff had a little bit of a shuffle over the offseason. Can you just talk about how it's come together and some of the new pieces you added to that staff?
Yeah, well, it's I still want to talk about continuity. I mean, we've had a little bit of turnover and a little bit of change, but the continuity is still there. Coach Doug Belk has been with me for going on 5 years now. He's ready to be a defensive coordinator. I've seen his growth and development up close and personal over the course of the last 5 years, and it's his time to take over and go. With that said, we still have continuity on defense. I mean, he's been the back end guy for me for the last 5 years. And Brian Early has been the upfront guy for the last couple of years. So none of that's going to change. I appreciate everything that Joe Coughlin has done here for Houston and for us over the last couple of years. But Doug Belk's kind of been the co-coordinator and been the guy, and it's time for him to, take the reins and go with it, and I'm excited about watching him continue to develop as one of the top assistant coaches in the country. That's why I made him associate head coach a year ago, and it's now his time to be the defense coordinator. So special teams with Mark Scott is going to be the same as it's been since I've been here. And then offensively, we've had as good a continuity as anybody. So everything's the same. And that's what I said I was going to do when I got here, over 2 years ago. And that's where we're at. I'm excited about where we're at. I mean, this roster is full, and we've got a lot of depth, and we got a lot of experience, and it's the same thing with our coaching staff. So I'm excited about where we're at. Adding David Rowe and Archie McDaniel, I think, are two really good pieces. And we had a little bit of a hard time hiring a corners coach because Doug Belk does his research and hires really good people. Well, if they leave to go on to bigger and better things, then I'm excited about that. Zach Etheridge did a great job for us when he leaves to go to his alma mater, where he was a team captain. Good for him, and he got a whole bunch more money, and going back home is good for him. I think Zach's a extremely bright young football coach, and then we hired a couple of guys that went on to the NFL. Not good for them, but David Rose stepping in, he's going to be a good asset to what we're doing. And then Archie's has been pretty impressive as well. So we're excited to have him leading our linebacker group.
All right, I'll go over to Joseph, and then Greg Bailey's on the call as well. Greg, you'll hop in after Joseph. Go ahead, JD.
Hey, Dana, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good. Hey, among the many positions that you'll look at, I was curious on at the backup quarterback spot. You get Masad and Maddox in for the spring. How do you plan on, or what would you like to do in terms of that spot to get those guys reps and have somebody back there come the season?
Yeah, you only got one quarterback at a time, right? So obviously Toon's our starter and needs to get a whole bunch of reps and develop, a lot of rapport with, continued rapport with the entire offense. But we got Ike back there too. Ike's a seasoned guy and a smart. If we're going to play tomorrow, he'd be our backup quarterback. He's just been here for 3-4 years, and he's smart and has gotten a lot of reps. With that said, the two young guys, with Soph and Maddox, I mean, they need to take as many reps as they possibly can. So we'll split the number 2 backup quarterback reps with those guys as long as we have to be able to make a decision at some point. And it's not until, you get into a couple of weeks before the first game against Texas Tech that we really got to settle on who that backup spot is. So there's a lot of time between now and then to get as many reps as they can. We'll see how they develop.
With that position, you go out and you got a lot of good guys through the portal. Cody was one of them out of La Tech. Do you work, is he specifically center, or does that allow you, if you play him center, you can move some other guys around like Jack, or what do you foresee kind of there on the offensive line at the center spot?
Yeah, we'll see how they develop. The one thing I'm excited about is just, Cody's he comes in with 3,453 reps in his career. Wow. Think about that. That's a ton. Our second highest guy is Deontay Anderson at 2,709 snaps. So Cody just brings in just so much experience, and you can tell that he's a vet. You can tell that, the way he handles himself, that, you understand why he was a team captain at La Tech. So we're excited about bringing him in. Anytime you can bring in an offensive lineman with that many reps and that much experience, you're gonna want to do that. So we're good with them. And Jack just needs to continue to develop. The O-line situation that we inherited was just put us in a position where we had to play young kids. And if you play young kids at the offensive line, you're going to be an average offense, which is what we've been. And Jack, the experience that Jack has had, and Max Baines is another guy that has, he's still young, and Patrick Paul's back. He looks great, but he's young. Anytime that you have to, play that many young guys, you're going to be average on offense. So I want to get older on offense, and bringing in a guy like Cody is going to get us older. Being versatile up front, yes, we got to develop some guards. Chase Todd is young, but we're going to experiment with him at guard, and then Cam Johnson's another young kid that needs to come on. And so they've been here for a couple of years, and we'll get them a bunch of reps in the spring and see how they do.
All right, next question, Greg Bailey, and then Rob Sellers after that. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Dana, I apologize. I had a little trouble getting on, but if you start this spring practice and say this will be a successful period for us as we move this program forward, what would you say the ingredients are to that?
Getting 15 practices in. Last year we got 9. Actually we got 8, which is a lot more than everybody else. But I think it feels like we're starting to get back to normal. So just logging the reps more than anything. Before I move on, I want to mention Dennis Bardwell too on the offensive line. I'm looking at my depth chart. He's back and he looks good. And that's another older guy that got his year back and going to make us better up front. And the better we get up front, the better we're going to be on offense. But just to answer your question, Greg, just logging reps and getting the practice time. That's what's going to make it successful. And I think every coach in the country right now would say the same thing. Just being able to get out there and it kind of to resume some sort of normalcy is what we're after at this point right now.
Dana, if I could follow up just quickly, you mentioned to us at a point last year where you said, people who want to be at U of H are a premium for us. That's what we're looking for. When you got a young guy like Maddox who is so excited about being part of U of H, I know he's just starting, but what can that do for your program when a kid like that is out social media, talking to the recruits, et cetera?
Yeah, well, if I'm gonna, and I'd be happy to talk about that. Maddox. We also got Mark Wilson, who's here, a local kid that's on campus right now and has been very impressive in our off-season strength and conditioning stuff. Mike Welch, who's been here for a year now, but he's still young, and he's Dickinson High School quarterback playing safety. Just excited about him being here. Alton McCaskill, CJ Guidry. I mean, those guys are local kids. That we're just excited about being here. I mean, there's so many high school football players in this city. You can't recruit them all. You're only going to get a handful of them, but you get the ones that just really, really, really want to stay home and be here. And those are the guys that we're kind of after at this point. You got to be. It gives us the ability to be able to be a little bit choosy when it comes to that too. So we're not going to beg people to stay home. We're going to recruit them hard, and the ones that want to stay here are going to be the ones that are going to be successful.
All right, next up, we'll go to Rob Sellers, then back to James from the Cougar. Rob?
Thanks, Tyler. Hey, Coach, in terms of overall team health, you mentioned Patrick Paul was back. Anybody you'll be without due to like off-season surgery or anything for the spring ball?
Yeah, there's just a handful of them. We're overall pretty healthy. I'm staring at my board right now, but so I'm not ignoring y'all with eye contact or anything, but I'm staring with my board. Elias Bell had shoulder surgery. He's going to miss spring, but we'll be fine and ready to go June 1st. Terrell Brown, had that knee surgery after the UCF game. So he won't be through spring ball, but will be cleared June 1st. Gabe Cossey, the offensive lineman from here in the city, had knee surgery. He'll be limited in spring ball, but will be 100% June 1st. Other than that, I'm looking at about 100 kids on our board that are going to tee it up and play ball. So overall health, I think at this point is pretty good right now. Mentioned Patrick Paul's back. Dennis Bardwell's back. Who else did we lose? Donnie Mutin, 100% ready to go, who didn't finish the season. Marcus Jones went out with a small knee injury in the bowl game who might have made a difference for us there in 3 quarters that he didn't play in the bowl game, is 100% ready to go. So Jeremy Singleton's good to go. Bryson Smith's good to go. So yeah, Mulvicar is good. So Tayson Henry missed the bowl game because of a hamstring. He's good to go. So the overall health's pretty good. So we're missing 3, but the rest of them are ready to roll.
All right, I'll go to James and then over back to Joseph. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, Dana, when you spoke to us around signing day, you talked about trying to bolster the backfield a little bit. Can you just talk about how your running back group has shaped up with the new guys you got coming in and then also your returners?
Well, Mulvicar and Chandler Smith have been here for 6 years now, so you know what you're getting with them. Keelan Walker's had a really good offseason. Excited about him. James Fulbright is, just don't count him out. He's going to find a role at some point to play. Tayson has looked good, and then we're excited about Alton coming in and Jim.
All right, go over to Joseph. Go ahead, JD.
Sticking with offense at receiver, you you lose Speedy, but you have Nathaniel and a bunch of other guys coming back. Plus, I believe Keyshawn Carter was one of the ones that you signed. How do you feel at that position? Is that something that between now and camp you go out and try to find one more if you can, or if that's pretty much it for now?
Yeah, can't wait to coach these guys hard. They need to continue to develop. I don't think any of them are anywhere close to what they need to be at this point in time right now. Jeremy was having a really good camp. COVID kind of kicked his tail a little bit, so he didn't have the season that we know he's capable of, but he needs to develop and get better. I probably say the same thing about Trayvon Bradley. He just didn't develop the way that we wanted him to. It's not his fault. He was hurt the majority of the year. I think Tank Dell was the one guy last year that developed the way that we wanted him to and produced the way that we wanted him to. He's got a chance to be really good. Bryson Smith's got a chance to be really good. Keyshawn Carter is coming in he's not with these guys that we brought in. I mean, he's got over 1,000 snaps at a pretty high level and has a couple years of eligibility left. So, we're excited to see what he can do. They just got to develop. I'm going to bring in somebody. I'm going to try to recruit a couple of them to be able to come in and develop competition. We need young guys like Dylan Robinson and Darius Edmonds and Kion Wafer, who's not even on campus right now, which is unfortunate. Young guys that we recruited need to develop. They need to earn their scholarship, and they haven't done that at this point. And this is a very, very, very big spring for those guys. If they don't develop, then they're probably not going to be here. And to be just 100% honest, throw Stacy Sneed in that situation as well. You recruit guys, you better own them. And you better develop them or they're going to have to move on. And that's where I'm at with the skill guys right now.
One of the more intriguing additions that you had in the offseason on the D-line with Bankston and Williams, those two guys coming in, how do you obviously numbers give you the opportunity to rotate guys, the runs, pass rush, whatever you want to do. But do those two guys sort of give you I guess they give you the best depth you've had since you've been here, plus guys that can come in and do the job and start if you need to?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, those two guys have been pretty impressive. I mean, Bankston hits like 250 snaps, but that's not counting his 2 years in junior college. I mean, these are all Division I snaps is what I'm saying. But Trey Williams comes in with over 1,600 snaps. Right. So, and that's at a pretty high level, so, adding those two guys on the D line, it is big. I mean, they're old, they're mature, they're already developed, and so they're gonna make a difference with what we're doing on our D line. Cedric Williams, another guy D line wise that has logged a lot of reps at junior college, who COVID got him yet last year, but he's been cleared to play. So, bringing him in is big. And then you got experienced guys with David Anini and Logan Hall and Derek Parrish, so, and Big O, you got guys that have been here for a long time that have logged reps here. And then you add, the same thing that I said about Cody Rusty on offensive line. You say the same thing about Trey Williams and Bankston on the D line. And that's where all things get started. If you get it better up front, then you got a chance to be much better as a team. And I think we did that in the off season. It's going to be fun watching those guys compete here in the spring, here in about a week when we put the pads on.
Got time for one more. I'll swing it over to James Mueller, and then we've got a couple more after that. We'll wrap it up. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, Dana, going back to Joseph's earlier question about the receiving core and losing some experienced players. Last year, it seemed like Christian Trahan and Clayton really developed some chemistry. Do you view Christian as one of those guys with experience that can really step up and play a bigger role in the receiving game this upcoming season?
Absolutely. He's our most productive, talented skill person that we have right now. So, and that's a huge compliment to Christian because we have guys that have ability and talent. They just need to be productive. But Christian's like one of our main guys. I mean, he's just extremely versatile. He's got a lot of experience. He's played 1,200 snaps and majority of them are the last 2 years. But I was excited that both him and Clayton got their year back. Because their first year, they kind of got cheated out of a year of eligibility. They didn't play very much and lost a year. The one positive thing that COVID brought to some of these guys is they could gain experience and get their year back, So both those guys are on track to being incredibly productive guys, here and going into their junior year now. With 2 years of eligibility, they got a chance to really make a difference here and win a lot of ball games. But Christian's, yes, he's our main guy on offense. We'll do a lot of different things, even more things that we did with them last year. If you look at what we did with them towards the end of last year, I started utilizing them more and started being more versatile with them, with moving them around and developing matchups. And I tell Tune all the time, just throw it at him because he's going to end up catching it.
All right, got two more. We're going to go to Greg Bailey and then finish up with Joseph. Go ahead, Greg.
Dana, do you have any update on Chidozie and Nwaku's status with your program?
I do not. That's still pending.
Thank you.
All right, we'll finish it off with Joseph. Go ahead, JD.
And we haven't mentioned what you got in the secondary between the two really, really good corners that you have. Numbers were a big thing last year. How do you feel about that group, especially at safety, seeing that you got guys like Thabo and I'm starting to lose name. Hassan, those guys like that.
Yeah, those two have had a spectacular offseason. They closed out the year last year being incredibly productive, and they've had a really good offseason. Thabo and Hassan both have had really good off seasons. You look behind them and you got G. Owens and Sprewell, who's finally healthy. Both of them are healthy. I mean, neither one of them were healthy at all last year, but they're both healthy. Those guys have more experience than the two that are in front of them right now. So watching those guys be able to compete is going to be fun. Garrison Vaughn's back 100%. He looks good. I've mentioned Mike Welch and Mark Wilson, young guys. There's Marcus Jones and Pepe Williams is going to be a fun tandem to watch. I mean, those guys are incredibly talented. They got a lot of experience. They're good in the return game, but they got really good ball skills, which hopefully will result in turnovers, which haven't existed here in 2 years. And that's coming off of one of the best turnover programs in the country is Houston until I got here. So I'm doing something wrong, but hopefully we can catch some passes in the secondary. Good experience. The line, I talked a lot about the D line. I mean, the secondary has got a lot of experience and going to be fun to watch and develop. Linebackers are going to be kind of where our heart and soul is right now. Donnie Muton's, is a team captain and very vocal and a really good player. We got worse on defense once he got hurt after game 3. And we were not the same. Deontay Anderson's moving inside to linebacker, brings a ton of experience. Giovanni Stewart is back for his 6th year. with a ton of experience. He needs to show people here and at the University of Houston why he's here. Malik Robinson and Manny Nunnery are two of our most talented guys who have gained experience, and I think they're just now coming into their own. So that's the heart and soul of our whole team. But from a talent perspective, the secondary is going to be fun to watch.
Dana, if I could quick follow with Doug now at defensive coordinator, does he come in with do you look at him with fresh ideas? Does he want to do a lot of different things, or do you kind of want to keep some of what y'all done the first 2 years and mix in some of his ideas, or is it a completely, new, I don't want to say scheme, but just a lot of new ideas from him?
Yeah, he's one of the brightest young up and coming coaches that there is out there. We're lucky to have him here at Houston. He had a ton of opportunities to be able to leave, and he's committed to finishing what we started here. And I think we're on the right track. I want continuity, so we're not going to put in a new defense because I want the kids to hear the same things that they've been hearing for the last 2 years. So with Coach Early doing things the same way up front, with Doug doing the same things on the back end, everything's going to make sense to our players. With that said, I think you always need to try to bring new ideas to the table. And, he's got a couple of new coaches and David and Archie that come in with a lot of experience that are going to be able to bring some things to the table as well. So yeah, and that's no different than what we're doing offensively too. There's some things that we've kicked around offensively that we need to do a little bit different. And so it's been, and that's another reason why I wanted to back up spring. One, to get a good offseason, and but two, to have our coaches sit in rooms for the last 8 weeks. It's not like we haven't been talking football. We just haven't been doing a lot with our team from a football perspective, but coaches have been working hard for the last 8 weeks, and we've been doing in-person meetings and coming up with a whole bunch of different ways of doing things and doing it better. So I hope that makes a difference. Our last 2 Fridays of spring football will be open. We'll talk a lot about this moving forward. But the last 2 Fridays, I don't have the dates. I mean, he can throw them out there too, and all that stuff. The last 2 Fridays will be open. So you guys will be able to come watch it, and everybody that wants to be able to come watch it can come watch it and see what you think. But I think it's going to be a fun year, and I think we're going to have an exciting product that we can put out there on the field and live up to the expectations that exist here at the University of Houston. I'm well aware of where we're at and what we need to do. And I think we're on track to doing it. It's going to be fun to be able to watch it and show off what we can do.
Tough game for Huggy yesterday.
It was. I felt bad, man. I mean, as happy as I was for Kelvin and the University of Houston, I was equally disappointed for Coach Huggins. He's a really good friend of mine, and I talked to him a lot. And I was excited about a Sweet 16 matchup, and that it's disappointing that it's not going to be able to happen, but. He had a good year, and it was disappointing, and I know he feels bad, and I hurt for him as well.
Thanks for your time, Dana.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll wrap it up. Coach is right. April 16th and the 23rd in TDCU, 6 o'clock start time, free to the public. Masks are required and some social distancing stuff. We'll send out some coverage guidelines as well to try to get you guys a little better access than we normally would for that thing. Also, Pro Day, April 9th. I'll send out a note later in the week. We're confirming some stuff for a stream as well, and I'll get you guys some coverage guidelines for that as well. Hopefully, we'll be able to have you guys there, but we're still working through that. So that'll wrap it up. I'll send this out here shortly, and we'll see you guys Thursday for assistant coaches at 12:15.
All right, thank you.
All right, good deal. Thanks, Coach.
See you guys.